So this is supposedly Android 12, or at least an official design mock-up of the next Android build. If Google follows last year's precedent, the first Android 12 developer preview should be rolling out this month, but before then, let's take a look at what's going on here. Thanks for watching 9to5 Google here on YouTube. Remember to thumbs up, hit subscribe, and then tap the bell icon to be among the first to watch our upcoming videos. So late last month, we reported that Google was working on an in-depth theming system for Android 12, and since then, a series of what we do believe are design concepts have reportedly leaked from Google briefings with OEM partners. Think Samsung, Xiaomi, Oppo, but it is worth clarifying that we simply don't know how the person originally received them. But as we said, this is reportedly a brief glimpse at what looks like a major UI overhaul in Android 12. You can see right from the start that this is a pretty sizable change and different look and feel to what we have today in Android 11. And we must admit there are undoubtedly some major influences from all manner of sides of the Android spectrum, plus maybe even more than just a touch of iOS thrown in there too for good measure. So just to compare to what we're seeing now on Android 11 home screens, and you can instantly see that there are some pretty sizable changes based upon these first screenshots. In this early mock-up, it looks like a sand accent colour is clearly affecting the entire UI from the search bar to the actual home screen widgets. One of the biggest tentpoles within Android 11 was that of people and conversations. Although we simply don't know for certain, these mock-ups appear, at least at first glance, to massively expand upon those with what look very much like 2x1 conversation widgets. There are a ton of rounded corners and oblong shapes with each widget here, which is clearly inspired by the iOS 14 home screen widget style that has been adopted, but they do look fairly unique with what we'd probably call a bit of a freeform look, or at least more so than you'll see on iOS. Obviously widgets look to be quite a big focus, or at least from these early snippets in Android 12, which is nice given that it feels as though Google has neglected them for a little bit while simultaneously favouring iOS app widgets over Google's own. Somewhat hilariously, they are actually themed with characters from popular 90s sitcom Friends, likely to emphasise that people aspect, but on closer inspection you can see that Facebook Messenger features quite heavily here. Again, while it's not entirely clear just from some screenshots, it is possible that developers will presumably have to support the system level changes. Overall, these widgets really do reveal how Google possibly plans to take iOS 11 tentpoles of making a people-focused operating system and expanding yet more again this year. You can also see just how the widget placement pop-up appears to have changed too, with the familiar sheet providing more context on the conversations widgets, but with collapsing sections for app-specific widgets rather than a cluttered list that we see on Android 11 and previous Pixel launcher builds. We think this probably might help you find the widget that you want quicker than before, but it's one of those tit-for-tat changes that it's unclear how people might react to. There also seems to be a prominent black strip at the top above that search field, which could be a new UI element to better prompt users about how to exit specific system views by dragging down. We're not sure if this will be available system-wide, but it might be a nice little touch, especially as it probably helps make it more immediately clear, but it's a simple divider that will likely be instantly obvious to hardened smartphone users out there, especially those of you who've spent a lot of time with Android previously. It also looks, based upon these mock-ups at the very least, that theming could be extended even further to app icons, at least more so than it currently does at present. On the home screen, we're only really getting a glimpse at 4 today, and 3 of those, the phone, clock and camera, appear to closely match the colour scheme of the applied wallpaper in the background. They also appear to be far flatter and overall more minimal, which might be something that Google is aiming for with Android 12's new UI look and feel overall. It's also worth noting that that Pixel launcher at-a-glance widget does appear to be rearranged to be left aligned and has the weather above the day and date. The current implementation has the weather centrally placed, the weather and time and date and whatnot centrally placed, and in the case of the Pixel launcher it's actually non-removable. Of course, if this is adopted, let's hope there are some further customization options for this popular widget. Maybe we'll be able to put it on different screens or adjust certain sizes of text and icons themselves. But delving yet further still, this is what the new notifications panel or shade may end up resembling in Android 12. Now, if it's not abundantly clear, it looks like it could be on the receiving end of yet another makeover. Obviously, none of this is at all functional, as it just is a series of screenshots, but you can clearly see a blurred background with Gaussian blur, which sort of mimics the iOS style that we've seen for quite a few years, with everything again themed in a sand colour. The cards of notifications appear very rounded with an increased corner curvature, and app icons with better image previews here too. Users look still like they'll be able to expand alerts, which is also a nice touch. Meanwhile, the popular quick settings toggles up top are very large, which is probably a move away from the usability that section is really known for. An odd point is actually just how the notification toggles are different in size. Maybe this shape indicates whether the toggle is activated or is currently active. It's quite jarring at first glance, but maybe you'll be able to theme this section too. Let's hope that we can see some more customization options within that notification shade anyway. Some other notables look like the date and time elements being given greater prominence, but something you might have spotted right away though is that it looks as though Google will follow Apple's lead and alert users when hardware like the microphone or a camera have been active. It looks as though Android 12 will add a green pill with specific icons or smaller icons denoting what hardware has been accessed in the top right corner of the status bar that, as we can see from some other screens, will shrink to a dot when at your home screen or in an app interface. That's not all though, as these mockups show that when tapped from the notification sheet, more information is going to be provided with links to the actual settings. And from here, Google, it looks like they'll introduce a completely new unified privacy settings page that will let you do things like disable the camera, mute the microphone, and turn on or off location at a high level. The latter control though is currently its own preference page. This might streamline things to one easy accessible point of reference. I think overall you can clearly see that the minor changes in Android 11, or at least the build seen currently on Pixel and Android One hardware, is being remixed this time around. So much so even that more attention is being paid to the previous design introductions like the notification shade spacing, the UI, and there are also some very obvious influences from around Android. There are hints of MIUI, ColorOS, One UI, iOS, and even a little bit of OxygenOS 11 all thrown in there for good measure. Undoubtedly, from the outside looking in, this could be a way of tying all the OEM design preferences together. Obviously, your experience with Android varies from device to device quite drastically. Android One and the version we see running on Pixel hardware is specifically quite clean, and maybe this is a step from Google to introduce a little more flavour to proceedings by giving you a little bit more control and maybe unifying things a little bit across the board overall. Given the very early nature of this Android 12 design leak, everything seen here is naturally going to be subject to change during the preview period, and at the lead up to that preview period, these mockups are just meant to convey to phone makers what the big tentpoles are going to be in Android 12, and so we could see something wildly different come the Android 12 preview or beta phase that is expected to be coming in a couple of weeks or months' time. So in essence, that is just a brief look at what could very well be the foundations for Android 12, or at least in an overhaul that we think a lot of people out there maybe will love, some might flat out hate, while some of you out there will be completely indifferent anyway. There's no denying this is a different look for Android. We want to ask you the question though, what are you thinking based upon these early screenshots? Are you excited to see more, or is it a bust before Android 12 previews even arrive on devices? Be sure to let us know down in the comment section below what you think, what you'd like to see, maybe just some input on where you think Google could go with it. But after all, this is Damien with 9to5 Google saying thanks for watching, and I will speak to you later.